Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Black Business Breakout session. Our theme is surviving and thriving during and post COVID. Our agenda is as follows. I will introduce each of our panelists. They will tell us a little bit about themselves, and our discussion will begin. My name is Lauren Jones, and I'll be your moderator. Before we start, let me go over a few housekeeping items. First, all participants are going to be muted throughout the entire session. If you have a question, please type your question in the chat box. The chat box is being monitored, and we will ensure that your questions are answered and pause throughout the session to make sure of that. At the end of this session, the contact information for each of our presenters will be put in the chat. In addition, the link to a brief survey will also be put in the chat. And we ask that each of you take a few minutes of your time to complete the survey. I have the distinct honor to introduce to you our panelists for this Black Business Breakout session. We have Mrs. Marion Saunders White, President of the Refinery, LLC, a business management and consulting firm. Marian is a resource leader with over 30 years of experience in program and project management. As the owner of the Refinery, she focuses on helping businesses achieve higher levels of efficiency and productivity and profitability. In addition to running her consulting firm, she is also a doctoral student at William H. Taft University, a member of the board of directors of the University of Maryland at Baltimore County, Alumni Association, as well as other boards. She is the co-author of the best-selling book entitled Breakthrough Leadership, Conversations with Innovative Leaders. Our second guest panelist is Ms. Regan Farley, owner of the Regan Farley Agency. Ms. Reagan, is the public relations, her firm is a public relations firm that provides public relations and content strategy services to individuals and businesses. Her agency has worked with industry leaders and top-tier companies such as the NAACP, NBC Universal, Def Jam Records, CBS Television, just to name a few. Reagan oversees a diverse client portfolio in the entertainment, nonprofit, lifestyle, and beauty industries. Her mission is to blend her passion for urban popular culture and politics for large-scale campaigns, especially during this election cycle. She is also a published author of a journal entitled Can't Knock the Hustle and created the Dream, Plan, and Hustle Workshop. Both of these talented ladies are business owners, published authors, ready to share their knowledge with you today. Thank you, ladies, for joining us and agreeing to share your knowledge. We're going to first begin by allowing each of them to tell us a little bit about themselves, how they started their business, and how they're faring during this COVID pandemic season. We'll start with Marian. Marian?
Thank you, Lauren. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and share with you all. As Lauren mentioned, she gave you a lot of background as well. I am the owner and the president of the Refinery, which is a business and management consulting firm. It was established in 2012 and began operations in 2013. And since then, we've helped small businesses continue to grow and to scale their business to be more efficient. And then we also help those women and other folks who are looking to start businesses to help them understand their priorities, outline them, and go for their goals. We also use our slogan, from chaos to clarity. So we help folks remove obstacles, sometimes including themselves, so they can grow and scale their businesses and achieve their goals and objectives. Our clients are in all different industries as well. We help folks who are IT consultants, which is my prior background as well as those who are in childcare industries, transportation, beauty, and health. So we can help just about any industry and any person who's interested in either starting or growing their businesses. I was fortunate to start a business based on what I was currently doing in the corporate world. So I was working on HR. I have an IT background. I did leadership training, contracts, and I was able to blend all those into a business for myself. So that's how the Refinery started, was just expanding on the things that I did for someone else. I decided to do it for myself and grow my business that way. Our business started part-time while I was still working as an employee for others. And as those contacts and contracts grew, I was able to sustain it as full-time. And we currently have about 3 employees, and we scale up and down as needed based on our clients and our customers' needs as well. And that's what we do. Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome. Reagan, tell us a little bit about the Reagan Farley Agency.
Yeah, so hey everyone. Thank you, Ms. Jones, for that introduction. The Reagan Farley Agency, we are a boutique PR firm where I like to believe, or I like to say most times, that we create visibility with ingenuity and integrity. So meaning, when it comes to a visibility perspective, helping craft narratives. So whether that be in the traditional sense of your radio, television, or that be in the traditional sense of what they call new media. I got my start in entertainment. So after I graduated college, the year after, I started working in 2013. Lived in New York for a little bit, lived in LA for a little bit, but my last job was at the NAACP. So helping the NAACP craft their narrative on a national scale, but utilizing all of those skills and all of those tools and resources from other companies in an effort to go off and do my own thing. And I knew that I was at least on the right track when companies that I used to work for were now clients, namely the NAACP. We helped push their initiative called Her Idea, so celebrating young women of color in the entrepreneurship space. So I love telling Black stories. I love telling all stories, period. But to me, being a HBCU graduate, telling those Black stories are super, super important to me. It's something that I live by. It's something that I swear by, and for my team. So we have clientele in New York, LA, and Atlanta, from entertainment, nonprofit to lifestyle clientele.
Excellent. Excellent. So, with the COVID pandemic, we have seen large companies shut down out of just saying we're closing our doors for good. We've seen some small businesses do the same, but we're also seeing small businesses staying afloat. With the bigger companies closing down, I think there's kind of a little bit of an opening for some businesses to start, either begin as new businesses or to fill in the niche. What are some practical things businesses can do to position themselves for success in the market today? Marion?
Thank you, Lauren. There's definitely opportunity out there where it could be a very scary time for folks because businesses are closing down. There are definitely opportunities for others to either come in or expand their business and really seize and take advantage of the times. So you definitely want to become a little more tech savvy. You know, I think that's probably my first tip out there if you're not. Expose yourself to it, because in this more contactless or virtual environment, you still want to be able to get your product and your services to your clients. You want to continue to serve those clients that you may have. And if you're just starting, you want to be able to reach those who you know are out there as your potential target market. So it can be just doing things completely virtual. It can be contact delivery of your service or your products, but you want to definitely make sure that you're able to meet that need. And you don't have to be a technological guru to do so. But the other thing I would just really stress is to take this time, if it's a particular downtime, to familiarize yourself, you know, and become more aware. This is a great time to invest in yourself and training and learning, you know, the technologies that are out there, reading books up on it, listening to podcasts. So those things, you want to invest in yourself and your craft and your ability to provide your products and services, and make sure that you know what's going on. You also want to take the time to understand who your particular targeted market and customer may be. So you're not just spinning your wheels. You want to know what it is that you're going to provide, whether it's a product or service or combination thereof, and then who is the proper customer and target market for you. And technology is a great way of doing that. For one quick, for instance, is if you're on Facebook, there's the whole Buy Baltimore Black networking. And that group alone has over 64,000 members now. And the business members of that group would tell you how their business has really blossomed during that time, because it's a great networking hub and it's free, so there's no cost to you to put your business information out there, connect with other businesses and provide those services. And they'll tell you that their business has just been booming off the chain during this time. So that's, one or two or three practical tips that I like to offer up.
Reagan, thriving requires more than just meeting basic customer needs. How important is it for Black businesses to enhance marketing their goods and services today?
It's super important, especially right now. We have everyone at your fingertips. So I'll echo Marion's sentiments when she said you have to market. You have to show up and be intentional on social media. If it's not your thing, get an intern. Find someone who can help you do those things. And I know you guys see me moving around a lot in the camera, but it's because I'm on live. So not only are we here, in the Zoom setting, but also going live to show, hey, I might have posted a picture on my social media page, but now I'm attracting a different level of audience and engagement because I'm also going live on my social media page. And that content translates a little better sometimes than just a picture or a video, especially right now with the state of social media changing. So you definitely want to leverage your digital footprint. Even if it's not your thing, it's the way that the world is going right now. So it is super, super important as a business owner to be on those platforms. But even breaking it down from a marketing and social media perspective, you can advertise on Facebook now. You can advertise on Instagram and even Twitter. And those are low cost advertisements as opposed to paying for a radio advertisement. So you definitely want to play around with marketing in that perspective. And even merging the worlds with PR. So PR is saying, hey, PR is saying, try this product. And this is why this product is important. Marketing is saying you should try it because of XYZ. So merging those two worlds in an effort to be successful with your branding and marketing tactics.
Excellent. Is it feasible, Marion, for someone to start a business right now in this market?
Definitely, yes. So again, you want to take the time, no matter what, this market, another market, but plan. Think about why is it that you want to start a business, and then what type of product or service offerings that you want to offer through your business. What are you going to do and why? So when we talk about understanding who your target market is, and definitely more of Reagan's area, think about why. What service are you providing? What problem are you solving for them? Whether it's a product or a service. There has to be a need out there that you're feeling. And that could be something that your potential customers might not even know it's a need yet. So that's your job to let them know, hey, you have this need and I have the solution for you. So it's definitely a good time to do it, but you want to make sure you take the time to plan and understand what it is you're going to offer, whether or not you have the character to become an entrepreneur, especially in a challenging time, because it can work against you, it can work for you. So you want to take that time and you want to put all that down to a business plan. There are multiple levels of business planning. You can get very, in-depth. You can do simple ones. A lot of times people think a business plan is only necessary if they're looking to perhaps go for external funding to fund their business. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. You need that plan for yourself internally as well, whether or not you plan to ever seek external funding. You want to know what it is you plan on doing and how do you plan to get there. That's your roadmap. And it should be a dynamic document. It's not static. You don't create it once and throw it to the side and check that off, I did it. No, it's an ongoing thing. You need to go back and check it multiple times. So you need to understand, okay, I have this business idea. This is the service or product that I'm going to offer, but what is it going to take monetarily? You have to plan that out. And a lot of times, unfortunately, people can get really excited about their idea or their plan, but they don't plan for it. What is it going to cost, for startup costs and then true operating costs for at least 6 months to 12 months at a minimum to keep this business afloat once I get it up and running. So you can do those things. And as you mentioned earlier, Unfortunately, there are some businesses who are dropping out of it, which can provide an opportunity for you to come in and provide those services. And perhaps you can do it at a lower cost because you don't have a lot of overhead. So again, if you just kind of want to start out, you want to make sure that you're really keeping those costs in mind. I was fortunate with the type of business that I started. I didn't have a lot of overhead. It was me and my computer, things that I already had. And then since I wasn't providing a hard, tangible product, my service was my knowledge. So I was bringing that to the table. So you want to get those things in mind, think about it, plan it out, and then find folks who are doing things very similar to what you want to do so you can meet up with them and pick their brain and understand what works for them. Don't think, oh, they're doing the same thing I'm doing, so that's competition, so I need to stay away from them. That's a short-sighted mindset.
And that segues beautifully into a question for Reagan. What is branding and why is it important, and how can small businesses brand themselves to enable themselves to thrive, especially in the market today?
And it is so funny because Marion focused on the why. So one, I will say branding is the promotion and identity of a product or good or service. But I'll also, I guess, go a little further and say that why behind what you do and why you do it is super important. It's what sets you apart. It is what I guess validates you in a sense, and it also shows who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And all of those things go into branding. As I mentioned earlier, I like to say that my company provides visibility with ingenuity and integrity. So that's my why. That's the reason why I do what I do. And I think you want to get clear when you are branding your company. Yes, brand colors matter. Yes, logos matter, even down to the name of a company. All of those are parts of branding. But then also that digital footprint on social media, investing in different things like that. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you are out the gate investing in a social media manager. However, maybe you are investing in ways to boost your content. All of those are parts of branding. And small businesses can definitely benefit from those things because that's what sets you apart. That's what shows that you're serious. That's what shows that you've invested in your business. I don't know about you guys, but you can definitely tell when a person doesn't invest in their business. You can tell that if they haven't spent too much time on a flyer or if they haven't spent too much time on certain things. So you definitely want to invest. It's super important. And right now there's things like grants and different things out of that nature that you don't have to feel like you've got to do it alone.
I see we have a couple of questions that have come in from the chat. Deborah, can you tell us one of the questions?
Yes. When it comes to determining your rate to charge customers, what factors do you use to decide?
Marion, would you like to take that first?
Okay, I'll take the first stab at it. That's a very good question. And it kind of depends on where you're coming from with it. Because I was coming from corporate, that was the first benchmark that I looked at, my rate that I was going to be charging my customers. What was my employer at that time paying me? And then, of course, I increased it because now I'm working for myself, right? So you do that. If you're offering a product or service, you want to look at what it takes to build that product or service. You want to look at the time and investment that you put into it. You want to look at the experience and the expertise that you're bringing to it. And you want to make sure at a minimum, obviously, that you're covering your costs before you can even consider making profit, which goes back to why it's so important to understand what you're doing. And there are worksheets that I work with clients like, okay, let's make sure that this is going to make some money for you. It may not be, tomorrow, may not be next week, but over a 6 month period of time, we're looking at whether or not this idea is feasible. That's one of the things that we do. And as Reagan mentioned, it's so important to invest in yourself. And it's really obvious when you don't, just as she mentioned, because if you don't take the time and the effort to invest in yourself, why would anyone else invest in your business? So there's some of the things you want to make sure that you're covering your costs. Your time is very important. And then you want to look at, it's a trade-off. If your business is strictly, I'm putting this time in for this service, which means I can't do anything for anyone else at that time, there's a time trade-off. your time is very expensive. So just make sure you factor that into it as well.
Thank you. Reagan, is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback. And I think one of the things that I'll say for me in particular, I do a consult before I meet with any of my clients, because from a publicity perspective, people's needs are different. So an entertainment client might need a bit less than a corporate client. So now I want to see what those needs are and how I can service each client. So from there, I'm building out customized packages depending on what the scope of work is. So sometimes, as far as determining a rate, I sometimes need to see what that need is before I say, okay, hey, my minimum is hypothetically $1,500. You might need more than what was typically quoted. So I have to see what that need is during that consultation session as well.
Thank you. I know there's another question in the chat. Ruthie, can you tell us what that question is?
Yes, good morning. The question is, where do you see your business in the next year, in the next 3 years, given COVID-19?
Marion, would you like to take that first?
Well, I can tell you, I was really, really nervous when COVID hit and we realized that, oh my gosh, folks are staying in. And my largest clients are IT federal contractors. So there was a lot of concern as to whether or not their contracts were going to be able to continue. And of course, if their contracts didn't continue, then that flowed down to me that I wasn't going to get paid. So that was a concern. We've been extremely blessed that in addition to those customers and clients, we have others, and our work hasn't slowed down. And actually, it's been a time where, as we mentioned, some folks have decided this is the proper time to invest in themselves. So actually, we've been really, really busy, which is wonderful. So I would say that we're going to continue to grow. We're looking to add other income streams and revenue streams to our business. When I talked a little bit about trading off your time for service, we want to look at putting things in place. And I would always recommend this to any of our clients when possible. Look at how you can perhaps automate some things or put some things in place so you can still serve your clients without you having to be in front of them one-on-one, whether it's creating training or packages and things that they can access themselves, but you're still building your business and building clientele as well. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, adding more to our repertoire. Like we do have some online training right now, so I don't have to do that training one-on-one. There's training online. We have an online portal where folks can go online and like, oh, I'm interested in this class, and they can, access that class at any time, 24/7. So I don't necessarily have to be there. So that's what we're looking to do to continue to grow our offerings.
Reagan?
So at first, like everyone, right, and especially like every small business owner, I was super nervous when COVID first hit. But being a person who's always been interested in being a serial entrepreneur, that just meant, hey, put together a journal, put together some t-shirts, especially since my digital footprint on social media is starting to increase. So how can I talk to that population as well? But then also, like Marion said, I kind of want to go in a direction of working smarter, not harder. So doing things like the PR coaching, creating content that will live consistently on its own. One of the things I recently dropped was a membership group. So for new and aspiring publicists, sending that ladder back down and reaching out to those folks. But then also one of the things that I want to phase out of eventually is the entertainment space. Like, I don't think I want to take on more of those clients, or not as many, but figuring out how to navigate in the corporate space a lot more. So before COVID, we were working with the United Negro College Fund. We were working with Benedict College and kind of getting in that realm a little bit more, because I'm seeing that there is sustainability there, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Do we have any other questions in the chat?
No questions at this time.
But we will continue. Can you describe some of the obstacles you have encountered along the course of building your company and how you overcame those obstacles? Because in overcoming, you can also help others learn from the mistakes that you may, or the obstacles you may have encountered. So when they see them, They know how to handle the situation. Marion, would you like to start?
Sure. I'm going to take you back to one of my previous businesses. As Reagan mentioned, being a serial entrepreneur, there have been other businesses that I've started. And one was a commercial brokerage company. So where we were actually funding, businesses, whether it was working capital loans, equipment leases, finances for churches, things like that. So I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. What I struggled with early on was what was going to be my product or service offerings. There was just so many things that interest me, but I wasn't quite sure. So that was one of the things I wanted to do. So I got the training for it and started it. Right at that time, right after I finished the training and I'm starting the business, we went into a recession, that 2008, 2009 recession, so I was like, wow. Initially, actually, it was very good for my business because at the time, the larger banks weren't providing loans and things like that anymore. They were starting to crack down. So folks had to go to, second and third tier level sources of financing, which was perfect for me because that's what my business did at the time. So when you talk about how smaller businesses can fill the gaps in when larger businesses go away, that was perfect for us for a little while until the recession got deeper and deeper and deeper, and then everyone was kind of cut off. So that was an obstacle. So you had to kind of think again, out the box, what other service offerings can we offer? In my current business, one of the obstacles is being a female and being a Black female, especially when you're dealing in the industry of like federal contractors, because they're tend to be white male dominated industries. So you have to, again, know your stuff. You have to come off professional. You have to be considered an expert. You have to know what these things are so folks can take you seriously, and you have to treat your customers well. Because unfortunately, we've all heard plenty of folks who say they don't even want to deal with Black owned businesses because they're not serious about customer service. They may show up late with no excuse, or they may not show up at all. You don't want to be that type of customer. So one of the things that you can overcome is knowing your stuff, being very professional, and honoring your commitments and understanding what customer service is, because that's how you're going to differentiate yourself from others, and it makes a big difference.
Exactly. Reagan, any comments that you would like to add regarding obstacles you may have faced when you started your business?
Yeah, knowing when to hire and when to fire. So I'm learning what being your own boss actually means. And it's multi-level. So yes, it's doing the work, but bringing people along with you that makes sense. But one of the things I recently experienced was in the space of trying to scale your business. So knowing that you need more team members, knowing that you can't bring everyone along, but also knowing that you have to find the right people, because together, one, everyone achieves more, but good teamwork makes the dream work. So knowing when to hire, knowing when to fire, but also that self-care piece is super, super important, because we, as entrepreneurs, you're going and you're working on your dream and you're saying, okay, if this doesn't work, then this will, and finding that right sauce in an effort to make sure that you sustain. But knowing that sometimes people who say that if I guess what I can say is knowing that don't sleep mentality isn't always going to work, because we need our sleep. Although you're on that road to trying to be successful, you have to sleep. So implementing an effective self-care routine is super important.
Thank you. Do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, we have one question in the chat. Whom do you seek advice from for your business?
Marion, would you like to start?
Wow. I've had some formal type, not mentorships, and they're great. If you can find a mentor and you can go into an official mentorship type program, I think that's wonderful. And the SBA, the Small Business Administration, they have groups like that. There are some other ones in the Baltimore area specifically that do that as well. And I got some interesting advice from some of my former employers. I'm sorry. When I knew I wanted to kind of branch out, that's where I kind of got my first clients from, actually. They understood it. So, and a lot of those folks also had businesses on the side, or they had businesses they had been running for a number of years. So, there were some unofficial conversations that we would have about things to do, how to set up bank accounts, how important it is to set up business bank accounts. I don't know if we're going to talk about that or get a chance to, but you definitely want to separate your monies. So you want to have that available. But you can look to those folks, and then you can also gain experience, very valuable experience from folks that you may not think are doing things well. So if they don't know how to treat their employees, if they're not honest, if they're not operating with integrity, don't be that person. And you can learn from that as well.
Reagan?
Yeah, I have different mentors. Everyone who I engage with from a mentor perspective, they aren't necessarily in PR, but I also believe that you can learn from a wide variety of different people. One of my mentors was in advertising. Another one of my mentors, he's a retired beer distributor. And I'd actually found him from where Marion just mentioned, so the SBA. They have a program called SCORE. So SCORE mentors, where you can meet with these business professionals for free in an effort to learn more about how to grow and develop your business. So again, all of my mentors aren't in PR because I want to learn different things. I want to be able to take those different skill sets and apply them to my business, no matter the phase of life. So I try to keep a wide variety, or like an advisory council, if you will, around me when I'm growing and scaling my business.
Excellent. Do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes. What are the top 3 issues or concerns for running your business?
Marion, would you like to start?
Well, one of them is something Reagan touched on as well, is that self-care. You have to take time for yourself. You constantly see folks who talk, oh, team no sleep, you know, and I don't subscribe to that. You definitely need time to relax, rest, rejuvenate, so you can present your best for yourself and for your clients as well. The other thing I mentioned is to make sure you understand the finances of running your business. And I don't want folks to think that you have to be running a multi-million-dollar business to be concerned about your finances. If you're starting a business and you're putting your last $100 to get it started, you need to be able to track that money. And finance might not be your thing, so you definitely want to get partnered with an accountant who can help you do those things properly, who you can talk to, who answers your questions, who doesn't, they don't belittle you, but you want to make sure it's a person who's skilled in small business finances. That's extremely important as well. And just having those back ends and understanding, whatever reason you're starting your business, you're not going to be an expert in all the areas that it takes to run a business successfully. And Reagan touched on that as well. So you want to make sure you know what your limitations are, play to your strengths, understand your weaknesses, and while you attempt to build those weaknesses, make sure you bring in those folks who can fill those gaps for you.
Reagan?
I'll definitely say self-care, super important. At 22, I developed epilepsy. And within my epilepsy, I believe sometimes I have to know when to pull back. But that also means hiring the right people, putting them in place to say, hey, right now I need this moment, but I know that my team can still handle it. And I will say transparently, I'm still trying to figure out how to put the best people in play, as far as, building my team and scaling and, things of that nature. So I believe that is also an obstacle right now for me. Just finding the people that help make this train run, or help make us run effectively, because it's different when you are running a company. You might have love and passion for your business, but everyone won't have that same love and passion. And that I know Marion had mentioned, she remembered when she first started, she was just at her computer. I remember those days as well, just being at the computer, typing away and, working it out. But as you grow, and as I mentioned, like I'm on the track to attract more corporate clientele. So that means a larger team. That means being able to service those professionals. So that's what I would say. So definitely self-care, definitely, finding a proper team. And I think that third thing is just knowing that we can't do it all. So doing those things that work well, being intentional about the clientele that you attract, but not being okay with knowing that you don't have to do it all just because you see that on social media, or just because your friend tells you, oh, well, I do this, 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 and this. Know what works well for you and play to those strengths.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions in the chat?
Yes. How do you brand your business?
Marion, would you like to start?
Well, where we started and where we're going, and the fact that we're going to be contacting Reagan later on to kind of work on that for our business.
I'm contacting you too.
See, and well, we'll talk about networking, but this is an informal way of networking. But so the branding the business was what we wanted to do. We wanted to play to the strengths of the things that I had provided professionally in the corporate world, and I just wanted to bring those same skills, through my own business, but based it on integrity. So not every contract I agree to, not every client I say yes to. We don't say, yes, we can do it all for you, because we don't. Because we want to put forth things that we can do well. If we can add value, then we'll say yes to that. And that's what we kind of brand ourselves on. We base it on integrity. It's my business. It's my life. It's me out there. That means a lot to me. I felt that way when I was someone's employee. So I definitely going to feel that way about my own business. And as Regan mentioned, anyone I bring into the business has to understand that we work on integrity. So not every dollar is a good dollar. So, sometimes we have to walk away or just say no from the beginning.
Reagan? You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. If it doesn't feel right to me, and I am actually merging with another young lady, so someone that I've been doing business with for a long time, we're bringing both of our companies together. And we're definitely to a point where we've worked together for so long that we're like yin and yang. So typically she'll make an eyebrow movement. I'll like maybe do like this or something like that. And we know when something is not a good fit, even if it is over the phone. Like by now, since I've been doing this since 2013, I can tell. I can tell if it doesn't work, if it doesn't sound good, if someone's pulling my leg. So, and every bit of money isn't good money. Like Marion said, like you got to have that sense of integrity, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your business always has a great reputation. And I'll also say, I like to pride myself and I like to show on social media, or when I'm just talking to people who are learning about me and my business, that I am a little Black girl from Baltimore who is an HBCU graduate, who in spite of was able to start a business, and as an HBCU graduate was able to represent a college, and was able to do, what folks said that she couldn't do. And I like to showcase the human aspect of that. So like when we talk about conveying your message and talking about your brand, those are all things that go into my brand story. And before someone buys a product from you or tries something from you, they relate to who you are and what you do and what your brand is. So I try to push those narratives out. I try to say, I have epilepsy, but that doesn't have me, because those are the things that make me relatable.
We're going to take our final question from the chat. Unfortunately, our time is drawing close. So do we have any other questions in the chat? And this will be our final question.
Yes, we do. I thank Reagan for that comment. We just segued right into this question. You mentioned gender as an issue with some clients. Do you experience any ethical or racial concerns that your type of business must deal with?
Marion, do you want to start? And then we'll go right into Reagan.
I do, and it's funny. Both you and it's working with other clients too. Let me first say, you will find that there are some Black businesses who on their websites refuse to put their pictures up because they know there are some folks, especially again when we're talking about industries that are really run by predominantly white males who outright will not want to do business with them. And that's a terrible thing, but it's reality. And so you'll notice, like, why don't you guys have your pictures up and things like that? On the other hand, I do have my picture on my website, with my natural hair, which we'll update, but I'll talk to Reagan more about that. But because I want people to know who they're dealing with. I'm proud of who I am and what I've accomplished and what our firm will bring to your business, if we both agree to do business together. But you will find that I have unfortunately also found instances where other Black males, you could tell that they will defer to other males before they would defer to a Black female, even though they know that you're competent because they do business with you, but you're lower on the pole, on the totem pole, and that's really unfortunate. One of my other businesses, I will say years ago, that I was trying to finance, I found some gender discrimination because I was trying to get loans at that time, and they knew I was married, and my husband wasn't part of the business, and they kept saying, well, you need to include your husband's information. And I'm like, why? He's not part of the business. He's not an owner of the business. He's not going to have anything to do. Well, we just think it'll make your package look more attractive to be acceptable. And I was like, but I need all the qualifications stated in that's written in your policy. Is there a policy stating that if a woman is married, they have to have their spouse? Well, no, but, and I was like, nope, that's okay. Thank you very much. And walked away from that. So you find those things. You got to know yourself. And again, not every dollar is a good dollar. Not every potential client or customer is a good fit. You have to know who you are and be strong and have faith to know when to walk away.
Reagan?
I'll say this, and maybe this is a self thing that I've done based on self, and definitely similar to what Marion just said. So I'll start with the race thing. Being a smaller PR firm, and usually larger firms are probably 20 plus people. Right now we're at 9 people. And what I'll say is that, like I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to move a bit more, or let me be intentional, I am moving a bit more into the corporate space. So right now we are at a place where we're submitting 2 RFPs, one for a national foundation and the other is for a pharmaceutical company. But I think this is probably something that I did in my own head, but to not look smaller and to not look what folks consider to be urban, if you will. That's a term that's thrown around a lot in my industry. I was talking to my business partner about this. I said, should I erase some of these things from my bio because this sounds a little urban? Or should I take away this or add this when submitting this RFP because I'm not sure if we'll get it if we look like a Black firm, unfortunately. And because we are ingrained so much to say, hey, don't add this, don't do this, don't put your Black face on here because you might not attract a certain level of clientele. That was in my mind, like, oh, remove this from your resume, or make sure that, your interns don't say this, that, and the third, because we want to be able to compete. Now, right now, being a Black firm is working to my advantage, but I do think there are still those instances sometimes where it's like, I don't want to say that too much, or, I don't want to add too much of this, because we want to just be able to compete regardless of the color of our skin. And as far as gender is concerned, I more so saw that a lot more when I was in the music industry. Like I mentioned, I've done some work with Def Jam. And I saw that a little bit more there, especially when you're dealing with rap and music and different things of that nature, because again, they don't want to talk to you. They want to talk to the guy. They either think that you're someone's girlfriend or that, you're just a groupie in a sense. So, and it's like, no, I'm here, I'm valued, I deserve a seat at the table. And, we want to have a conversation. I will say one of the things that I've experienced when navigating this new space is ageism, in a sense, because sometimes they think because you're younger, you might not know XYZ, or let us add a more seasoned professional to the project per se, because you guys are going to need help. So I will say that I've experienced a bit of ageism in moving into my new space, but that's okay. Like, we let those things roll off our backs. So totally fine.
Thank you both. I'll give you each a minute to do some closing remarks before we begin to close out our session. Marian?
Again, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. And to sum up a lot of what we've talked about, you're going to have challenges. Unfortunately, a lot of times the first one and the biggest one is yourself. So I'll work with folks to kind of help them realize that and kind of remove them from that situation so we can move forward. But the other challenges, if you understand them, if you're prepared for them, always look at them as a learning opportunity so you can learn and grow from them, so you don't try to run from them, you're going to run through them, and we're here to kind of help you get through that. It's great to have all types of folks because you can learn something from everyone. So don't think that you just have to, partnership or get a mentor that's in the same exact field or done exactly what you have. I think Regan even mentioned there's so many different things that you can learn from different people to make up a whole. There are a lot of aspects of you, so you need to understand those things, play to those strengths, and fill in those gaps so you can create an overall well-informed, educated expertise and experience for your clients. And we would love to help in any way that we can going forward. Thank you.
Reagan?
I'll say that in entrepreneurship, that first step is the biggest. But know your why, be intentional, align with people, manifest. I write my goals down often. I say them to people, I say them out loud, but say them to people who have your best interest at heart, your quote unquote advisory council, be it official or unofficial. Know when to phase out of something, know when something no longer serves you, but also be intentional about who you're surrounding yourself with, because that's super important. Also give back, because I believe that we are blessed when we give back, especially in entrepreneurship. But you don't know everything. Learn, always educate yourself, invest in yourself. So one, invest in, your vision, your branding, things of that nature, but always be a student. Like, I don't believe that I know everything in PR, although I've done certain things in PR. I always ask questions. I'm in Facebook groups that are for publicists. So I always try to continue to be a student because I don't know everything at all. So always be a student, and inspire someone else along the way, because that's truly important, and be intentional for sure.
We are actually waiting for our president to join us to close us out. So I will actually continue with one more question. If there was something, that one piece of advice you could give someone who wants to start up a business, especially a Black-owned business, what would you tell them, especially in light of COVID? We'll start with Reagan this time.
That is no better time than now. That although we are in what they call, is a global pandemic, that there's still opportunity. I think folks believe like, it's a global pandemic, it's the end of the world. I can't. But imagine how many businesses that can. Yes, businesses are closing, but if you are, again, back to being intentional, if you are intentional about your needs and about where you are trying to go and you have a solid direction, just get started. We get so nervous of, I can't pay for a logo, I can't pay for branding, I can't pay someone like Marion to help project manage. Sometimes just get started. There are free tools, there are free resources, there are different things. So don't feel because I don't have XYZ, I can't be successful and start my business. Just get started.
Marian?
Oh, I have to agree with everything that Reagan just said. We can get into this analysis paralysis, and we're so afraid to take that step. So trust in yourself, so you definitely want to do that inventory of self, and then we talked about what is your why? Why is it that you want to do this? But there's never going to be a quote unquote perfect time for anything. Again, use this as a learning process to continue to invest in yourself, so you can understand what you're doing and how to best present it to those potential clients. There's never going to be a perfect time, but you can make it happen.
Thank you, ladies, so much. As much as I wish we could continue this discussion, I must wrap up this session. At this time, I would like to introduce to you the president of the Upsilon Epsilon Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, Ms. Kendra Brown, and the vice president, Ms. Nakia Showell.
Thank you, Lauren, Ms. Jones, and Ms. White, and Ms. Farley for hosting and having this conversation, such a critical conversation about Black businesses surviving and thriving during and post-COVID. We know that as business owners, there are challenges that happen and take place even when COVID is not here, right? And so being in the midst of this pandemic, I know has been challenging, but I know that you have shared wonderful tips on how to survive and thrive now and also beyond this pandemic. So thank you for taking time out of your day to share with us and all of our attendees. And with that, I will hand it over to Dr. Showell.
Again, I want to mirror Ms. Brown's comments. Thank you so much. It's always awesome to be able to tap into your own internal resources and to have expertise readily available. And we're fortunate as a chapter to have amazing experts like Mrs. White and Ms. Farley. So I really, really appreciate your investment today and having a great discussion. I saw that it was very engaging and lots of questions and really some great practical tips. So thank you again. Mrs. Cuffey has shared information in the chat on how you can get in contact with the Reagan Farley Agency. And I know some other important information is also being shared. Please take some time to fill out our survey. We really value your input. And we would appreciate you all, giving us some feedback on how things went. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention to please join us for our future events. We have all of our events listed on our website, www.akepsilon-omega.org, which we'll put in the chat. But I also want to share, just in keeping with our focus on health and wealth, some of our upcoming events. On Monday evening, Alpha Kappa Alpha International Breast Cancer Awareness Day, we will be hosting Dr. Lisa Newman, who is a surgical breast oncologist, to talk about early detection, treatment, and disparities prevention, specifically for Black women. So the information is there, and we hope you can join us. On October 8th, which is next Thursday, we are kicking off our virtual Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. And fortunately, due to the great sponsorship of one of our keynote panelists, we're actually able to sponsor not one family, but 3 families for free for this course. This is a 9-week financial wellness course, talking about a lot of the tips that our earlier presenter talked about. And there's more information if you contact us, ueoprograms@gmail.com, or visit our website. So again, thank you so much for coming today. And our moderator, Ms. Lauren Jones, thank you. Our attendees, and everyone in attendance, we really appreciate you coming and spending your morning with us.
Again, thank you all for joining us. We hope that you will have a great afternoon. Thank you to the panelists. I want to especially thank Ms. Deborah Hurst-Cuffey and Mrs. Ruthie Bright for monitoring the chat for us, and our technology team representative, Ms. Ashley Barnes. Thank you all for helping to make this event a tremendous success. Everyone have a wonderful afternoon. Be sure you complete the survey that's in the chat link and join us for other activities in the future. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Stay safe and be well.